You see, people are mistaken when they hear about the flat earth. They think that there's no proof for a flat earth. They think that all of a sudden that flat earth is up for debate or something. That's backwards. Because obviously our observations, our basic experience with earth is that it's a level plane. It's not spinning. I mean, that's our experience. So a flat earth isn't exactly a conspiracy. It's not up for debate or anything. It's just our basic, it's our objective reality. And it's that realization that makes you a flat earther, basically. It's like you're not necessarily claiming you know what the whole earth, you're not claiming to have like left earth and seen the whole entire thing in one glance and been like, there's the earth and it has a shape. No, you're not making that claim. That claim would be a ridiculous claim to make, having never done that or experienced that or witnessed it. So it's foolish to say that you've seen the whole earth in one glance and you can see that it has a shape and this is its shape. Nobody's done that. The people that have were lying. And so, having figured that out, um, basically we're just left with either making claims based on somebody else's claims, based on assumptions or people's lies. And, it's not as logical as it is to just say, well, here's my objective reality. I live on a level plane. It doesn't have to be called Earth. It doesn't have to have a shape. It's just my reality is that of a level stationary plane. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to make any claims about anything other than what we're experiencing here. Granted, it's my understanding of the force of gravity, as it were, is completely backwards. It's been explained to us backwards. There is no downward acceleration towards the Earth. That is completely and sufficiently debunked. It's never been measured. And in fact, when objects are in quote unquote free fall, the physics that we know of today, they'll claim that's when things are in their natural state, when they're in free fall, meaning they're at rest while they're appearing to fall, which would lead you to believe the Earth is racing up to meet whatever is falling, which seems insane. But that's what that implies. At your natural state was that's when you would assume that you're at rest, when you're in your natural state. Now, it's just tricky wording that you get with a lot of this stuff. It's like, but we do know that when there's a force being exerted, whatever might be subject to that force is going to organize in a certain way, a specific way, a very specific way, and it's always going to be the same way. It's just the nature of reality. If there's a force exerting on you and it's pushing you that way, and you're within that, let's say you're in a car, and the force is pushing you from behind, it's pushing you forward, but the force is coming from behind you, is pushing you forward. The force is coming from behind you. You get pulled into your seat. You're dense. So the dense things are going to be pulled towards the direction the force is coming from. This is intuitive. We all know this. And it turns out the buoyant things are going to go in the direction that the force is moving. So like if there's a helium balloon in the car with you when you step on the gas, you're being pulled into the seat because you're dense. The helium balloon isn't dense, it's buoyant. And so it's going to go the opposite direction as you. When you step on the gas and you're pulled into your seat, the balloon's going to go forward. It's going with the motion of the car. The air in the car is being pulled towards the back of the car, and but the thing is, the air is being pushed forward actually, but whatever is more dense is going to organize towards the back of the car. You're being pushed towards the direction the force is coming from. Whatever is buoyant is going to organize in the opposite direction. It's going to move in the direction the force is moving you. So the helium balloon will go the opposite direction as you. When you're in the car and you step on the gas, you pull into the seat, the helium balloon goes towards the windshield. That's what we know about force. When there's a contact force, when there's a pressure, there's a force accelerating you. That's always what's going to happen. The more dense things that are subject to that force are going to be pushed the direction the force is coming from. Like if you're in an elevator and it's pushing you up super fast, faster than your normal elevator, just jamming you up, you're being pushed to the floor, And in fact, in that situation, you would weigh more because there's more force being exerted. You're being pushed to the floor, even though you're being pushed up. Your weight, you're being pressed into the floor harder than you would have normally, so you weigh more in that instance when you're being pushed up. It's super, just in a hypothetical situation. And of course, in that situation, the helium balloon would be going to the ceiling like it would any other time, but faster. But anyways, my point being, we're aware of the fact that dense things organize in a certain way, and buoyant objects will organize in a certain way when there's a force being exerted on them. And however, we tend to forget all that when we're just going about our daily lives, just in our normal. But the thing is, if you let go of your helium balloon, where does it go? It goes up. Is that the direction the force is? Well, in any other occasion, that's what we would assume, that the helium balloon is traveling in the direction that where the force is coming from. It's going to be pushing. The balloon's going to be moving in the same direction that the force is coming from. Like I said, when you're in a car and you exert force in the car and you're moving forward, the helium balloon's going to move forward while you're being pulled back into the seat. When there's a force being acted on you in this balloon, both of you are going to move the opposite direction. Pulled into the seat, the balloon goes forward when you're stepping on the gas pedal. Okay, any other situation where there's a force being you're being subjected to a force that's pushing you, it's going to be the same situation. Things organize in a certain particular way that's never any different. So in the case where we're just sitting here outside, we're being pushed into the ground and the helium balloon is going up, moving that way. Well, if you just take what you learned while you were in the car, exerting force, pushing the car forward with step on the gas pedal, you're pushed into the seat, you're moving back against the seat. The motion, the force is pushing you from behind, it's pushing you forward. You're pulled in the direction that the force is coming from. The helium balloon is moving the opposite direction towards the windshield or whatever. It's going the opposite direction as you. When you're standing outside, the same situation. The helium balloon's going the opposite direction as you. Well, basically, you're being pushed to the ground. The balloon's being pushed to the sky. Just imagine like as if you were in the car and then you just switch it around. It's the same situation. The force is coming from under you, so you're being pushed to the ground. The balloon's going in the direction the force is coming from. The force is coming from under us. It's not coming, we're not being pulled to the ground. We're being pushed up. The ground is pushing up against us. That's how acceleration, that's what we know about acceleration, when there's a force acting on you. So gravity's been explained completely, in a complete opposite way as how it's really working. I mean, the only reason we're being held against the ground is because there's a force coming from underneath us, pushing us, holding us to the ground. It's like if there was a force pushing down on us, we'd be held against the ceiling, wherever that is, Like, in the case where these people are going on their parabolic flights and they fly up in their jet and then they do that, and they point back down and they kill the engine and they're just falling. the people in that jet, they do their little, that's when you can do what they call a low G environment, basically where you feel weightless. And and people are like floating around. They can do little somersaults in the air because they're like floating while the plane's falling. You know, they feel like they're floating. It looks like they're floating. And you know, they want to say it's a low G environment or whatever, but what they're going to say is that there's like a force of gravity that's pulling them down to the earth and they're falling, you know. But if that was the case, if that plane was being pulled down, if there was a force acting on it, pushing it down to the earth, you know, if the force was coming from that direction, it was pushing them down, then they'd be pressed against the highest point in the plane. They wouldn't be floating. But instead, they're in their natural state. They're like, basically, they feel as though they're at rest. They're weightless. It's because there's no force pushing them down. There's nothing pushing from up, you know, or like there's no force drawing them down. If they were being pushed down, then they would rise to the highest point in the ceiling. In the plane, I mean, or whatever. It's confusing and it's difficult to really wrap your mind around, because if you have to accept what the evidence is showing you, then you're basically forced to realize that this place is just, I mean, it's interesting how physics will acknowledge the normal force, they call that, the normal force that's up from underneath us, the upwards force that meets our feet. It's called normal force in physics. And they acknowledge it as such. It's a force, and they call it the normal force. Now, the reason they say that the Earth isn't rising up, even though they know there's a normal force pushing you, you know, holding you to the Earth, contact force, whatever they want to call it, they say the reason that, they're like, well, it does, you know, the physics would show us that the Earth is rising up to meet us when we're falling or whatever. However, we know that that can't be the case because the Earth is a globe, and that would be impossible on a globe Earth. Because, you know, up is subjective. I mean, the Earth would just be expanding, and then, you know, it would be getting bigger and bigger or wider or whatever. It'd be moving out in every direction. It wouldn't work. That's not, that wouldn't work. So the reason that they say that the Earth can't be rising up the way the physics seems to suggest it is, a force coming from underneath us, pushing up against us, is to say the reason that that's not what's really happening is because the Earth is a globe, and that obviously that can't be true happening on a globe, because the globe would be getting bigger and bigger constantly, and that's just not what we're experiencing here on Earth. So because they're so confident in their globe model, they just disregard what the physics is showing them. Now, it's a lot to wrap your mind around. I mean, if you think that the Earth is rising up, you have to accept the fact that the entire experience here, everything in the sky, everything, it's everything, you know, it's all in an enclosed system that apparently is moving upwards at such a constant acceleration that it just otherwise would appear stationary while you're within this frame of reference. Now, it's such a taboo subject amongst flat earthers. There's really very few people that will actually even humor this conversation, which I find to be kind of silly. But whatever. They all think I'm silly. I don't care. I'm just talking about stuff, you know. I'm just trying to learn things. I'm not trying to, like, win the prize of being the best guy, you know, flat earther or the smartest truther or something. I just want to know what's going on, and I want to study reality and what I explained about force. You know, when there's a force acting on something, on you or whatever it is, there's certain results. You know, like I said, the things that are dense and the things that are buoyant are going to organize in a certain way. And the way things are organized here as we're just going about our day is the dense things are being pushed against the earth, and the buoyant things are going to rise based on how dense, you know, how not dense, how buoyant they are. Like, you know, the helium balloon is going to go in the direction that the force is coming from. It's going to go up. You know, the dense things like us and other dense like rocks, they're going to be pushed against the earth because the force is coming from underneath us. It's the normal force. It's there all the time. It's the regular thing that we're dealing with. I mean, the only reason mainstream science hasn't accepted the fact that the earth, the force is actually pushing up, not pulling down, is because they know the Earth is a globe. Like the Earth is a globe, so it can't be that, even though that's what the physics is showing us. But it can't be that because the Earth is a globe in motion around the sun. But that's all a bunch of pseudoscience, because it turns out the only reason they think the Earth is a globe is because of what they're witnessing in the sky. And you would have to know what all that stuff in the sky is inside and out. You'd have to know all the dynamics of what's going on up there in order to make that statement and have it be true. Because what we're observing in the sky, it could be, like, it really could, like, if you're on a spinning ball and all the things they say about the globe model, is true, well, it's possible that you would witness what we're witnessing in the sky to some extent. Although I haven't been all over the Earth, I can't say. But if the sky really is how they say it is, which is circumpolar, there's two 24-hour suns in opposing locations, and the sun moves in the opposite direction, and that I've heard Flat Earth explain it pretty well. But I do think that this 24-hour sun in the South Pole, South area, whatever, there's no South Pole. There's no compass that points to the south. I mean, there's a lot of anomalous shit with the globe model where it's like, this kind of falls apart a little bit. You would think that after you went over the equator, if it's just two magnetic poles, a north and a south, that you would have a southern compass and a northern compass. That's not, I mean, I've heard people say there's a southern compass, but no, the compass is all pointing north. And the further away from north you get, the less accurate it's going to be. I mean, by the time you're in the far south, I mean, it's not working that well anymore. I mean, it's kind of, you're so far from the north that, because the north is just like one central location somewhere, I guess. I mean, the compass is always correcting to this one spot. The north, where the needle is pointing, is north, and then it's at a central spot the way it moves, and so the south is just the other end of the needle. It's like sweeping across the entire flat plane. The compass is flat. I mean, what we're working with here is a level plane. I mean, that's just the basic facts. I mean, the globe model was designed around what we're witnessing in the sky. We don't know what all that stuff in the sky is. Of course, they claim to know. They have to know for their thing to be true. I mean, they have to know all the dynamics about everything that's going on up there. And they claim gravity is, but they're wrong. Like I said, gravity's been explained completely backwards from how it really is functioning. And it's all just, it becomes so, like, cartoonish at the point where you're like, you're going to try to explain the Earth as being a flat plane that's right in motion, rising up at constant acceleration. It becomes just like, I mean, good luck trying to say that to somebody who's never thought about any of this stuff. I mean, if you're lucky, you can explain it to somebody well enough to where I did my best trying to explain it, but even other flat earthers will just laugh at me and be like, that's crazy. And I get it. I understand why that might sound crazy, but I do my best trying to explain it, because it's tricky. I mean, it's when there's a force acting on something, I mean, we all intuitively know what's going to happen. Like like I said, if you're in an elevator and it's jamming you up super fast, way fast, what's going to happen to you? You're going to be pushed to the floor, right? Or if there's an elevator pushing you down super fast, you're going to rise to the ceiling, right? So whenever there's a force acting on you, you get pushed towards the direction the force is coming from in any situation. So here you are standing on the ground, you're being pushed against the ground. Well, where's the force coming from? It's not rocket science. Well, it turns out rocket science isn't even rocket science. I just like to say it's a non-rotating Earth. Non-rotating is good. It's a good, like, compromise between both flat Earth and both warring parties. Although there's not really much of the uprising Earthers it's such a small percentage of the flat Earth community. It's not really it's not a fair fight. I don't want it to be a fight. I think we should all unite and just be like, dude, the Earth is not a globe. It's not a spinning ball. Let's just all agree on that at least. And for what it's worth, whatever God had to do to create the situation that we're living in, which is otherwise just a stationary level plane, in our frame of reference, that's what we're otherwise experiencing. We don't have to account for any motion of the earth other than just our weight and our, it's all intuitive shit. Once you learn to walk, I mean, you pretty much have it all figured out. You don't, it's not like you need to know. I mean, all the stuff that comes with the globe model of Earth, it's all a bunch of irrelevant information, stuff it's all crazy talk, really. It doesn't apply to your life at all. You never have to worry about the motion of the spin of the Earth or the curvature. I mean, it's never going to come into play in your life at all. It's just a moot point, which is interesting because it's supposed to be like the truth or whatever. But the truth usually, is what you're dealing with, in any situation. When it comes down to the brass tacks, the nitty gritty, the truth is what you're dealing with. It's not like some hypothetical thing that you're never gonna. That's not how the truth is. We're in motion around the sun. We're never gonna be able to detect any of that motion or experience it or feel it or anything. The Earth is curving in a big ball. We're never gonna be able to measure the curvature in any meaningful way. But it is. You have to just say all these things and just accept them as being fact, even though you don't ever experience them or account for them or see them or witness it in any way, shape, or form. So it's not really that crazy to be a flat earther. It's actually more of a logical position to take. And it's practical too. It's not like it's something that's not practical. I mean, like, say if somebody's going to fly a jet plane with 100 people on board, and they're going to have to land that jet plane on the Earth somewhere. Do they need to go learn about the motion of the Earth and which way it's spinning and how they're going to land the plane on a moving platform and how that's all going to work out? And do they need to know about the curvature so they're always keeping, at a certain elevation? They have to worry about how far the Earth is curving away from them as they're flying above it. No, none of that shit comes into play. None of it. In fact, what you need to know about the Earth when you're flying a jet plane, if you want to be safe, is that you need to know that the Earth is a level plane that's stationary. So when you land your plane, you don't have to worry about any motion of the Earth or any curvature. Nothing like that comes into play. Nothing. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the flat Earth knowledge and apply it to your situation, and everything's going to work out just fine. If you try to take the globe information and apply it to your situation, well, you're going to be wasting your time. But not only that, but I mean, you might end up you're just going through a lot of trouble for no reason, because it's not true. It's not so true that it's like something you got to think about or worry about or factor into your life in any way, shape, or form. So, whatever. And it's almost, I kind of almost feel like that about the upwards Earth too. It's like you never have to really worry about the fact, just don't fall off a cliff or. I mean, basically, we're experiencing the same thing here. We're all in the same boat together here. And if it's a spinning ball, well, you could have fooled me. I mean, you did. Spent most of my life believing that's what was going on. We're flying around the sun. But just think about the logistics of that. I mean, the entire fucking Earth is suspended in nothingness. And it's just flying around the sun. The sun's flying too, apparently, and it's moving, in a certain direction through the galaxy, according to the story. But it's like, yet everything on Earth remains undisturbed. And you can't detect any of that motion. You can't feel it, can't detect it. You can't measure any curvature. You think the sun's sinking below the horizon, but then you can zoom back in on it, and it's up in the sky still, and you realize that it just was getting further away. It wasn't really sinking below the horizon. I mean, all this supposed globe shit, it's all just sort of, it's pretty flimsy, I mean, it's just taking our basic observations and sort of twisting it around. It's like the globe Earth is so big, and it's moving so gradual that you'll never feel the motion, and you'll never see the globularness of it, because it's so big, and this magic thing, gravity, sort of sorts it all out for you, so you always feel like you're on top no matter where you are on this ball. That gets to be kind of, the only reason we believe that is because we had that hammered into our head our whole life, and we watch TV where they show it all the time. You know, when you have to answer a certain thing as being this certain thing on a test or whatever, it gets put in your mind, you get filed away. Like, this is what we're doing here. This is the facts. We're on a ball and we're flying through space. But then, once you've been made to think about it objectively or just critically even, you realize that, like, all that stuff is just stories. And a lot of the stuff where I thought it was just like, obviously the Earth is a globe because the sun sets below the horizon. Well, it's like, once I finally heard about this, I went and bought a camera and started doing some long distance observations, and I went and watched the sunset on the beach, and I zoomed into the sun, as it was setting below the horizon. You could see it sinking into the ocean the way it looks, I zoom in on it, and now it's up in the sky again, and my camera, it's not sinking below nothing. So now I'm forced to realize that what I thought looked like the sun sinking below the horizon was actually just the sun moving further away, because now I zoom in on it and it's back up in the sky in my camera, so it wasn't sinking below shit. And you think to yourself, well, how could it be this easy to debunk this thing that everybody in the world believes is true? Well, that's whatever. That's just who cares? I mean, now that you know what you saw, what you thought was happening, now that you looked and you zoomed in on it and you saw that's not what was happening, well, just accept the reality, or don't, whatever. I just decided to accept the reality of it. I'm like, oh, it wasn't sinking below the horizon. It just looked like it was. Whoa, what a trip. All right. Well, I'm not going to bother arguing with people about it if they haven't gone and just taken their camera and done the same thing I did. I mean, granted, there's plenty of people that believe in the globe Earth that have gone and done what I did, and they make excuses and, well, it just didn't move far enough away or something. I don't know. But the way I see it is like, it looked like it was sinking below the horizon. I got my camera and I zoomed in on it, and I realized it wasn't doing what it looked like it was doing. And it was an optical illusion, because I could zoom in on it and it was back up in the sky. It wasn't sinking below nothing. So I realized what was going on there. Where I thought it was doing one thing and I zoomed in on it, I could see it better now. It wasn't doing what I thought it was doing, so I'm just going to have that be my reality, since that's what I witnessed. It seems perfectly logical at that point. You have to start changing your paradigm around your mind. Oh, the sun might not be bigger than Earth. It might not be 93 million miles away or whatever. It might not even be something that you could measure the distance of it. I mean, it seems like you should be able to. I mean, it's moving over our heads, and the light of it only goes so far, before and then it's moving around and it comes back over your head again 24 hours later. It's like the light only goes so far, and it's only traveling so far until it comes back over your head again. So that it gives you the impression that, well, there's only so much space here on Earth that the sun is lighting up, over the course of 24 hours. I mean, the light only spreads out so far, and the sun can only go so far before it comes back over your head again. So the places that are being lit up by the sun over the course of 24 hours, it's not a forever thing. It's like there's a limit, And so with that in mind, there would have to, beyond where the sun is shining, there would have to be an area on Earth that's just, that nobody goes because it doesn't support life. It would have to be fucking cold, just an icy wasteland, because the sun doesn't go beyond there. The sun's making a circuit. A circuit is a circle. It's like a limit. There's a limit, And so there would have to be a place on Earth, if the Earth is flat, like I'm explaining, where it's just a desolate, cold wasteland that nobody goes because it doesn't support life. And it's just recommended that nobody goes there, and nobody does go there because it's too fucking hardcore to go there, and there's no reason to, because it doesn't support life. It's all death. There's no fucking nothing living there. At a certain point, when you travel that direction and you get there, it's like the limit, It's like the known world is here, and then on the outside of that, there's this limit. The sun doesn't go beyond that, and it's just an icy wasteland where there's no life and nobody goes there. There would have to be a place like that on Earth if what I'm saying about Earth is true. And it just so happens that there is that place on Earth. It's called Antarctica. It's the place where all the countries of the world, all the leaders, the UN, they've all got together and they're like, okay, we're gonna sort of step in here and just say this place is off limits. It's not a country. Nobody's gonna claim it as a country because nobody can live here. It's just too extreme. It's just icy wasteland. Doesn't support life. Sure, on the coastline it does. There's some penguins and shit. But like when you further inland you move, it just gets more and more just desolate. There's no life. And so it's not a place where there's going to be a city or like a country. Nobody's going to go. There's no economy there. And so all the leaders of the countries, the big powerful people of the world, they all got together and agreed we're going to keep people out of here because this is just a dangerous. It's the limit. You can't go beyond here. It's like this. You'll die. It's too extreme. And so they all agreed. I don't think all the countries of the world got together and had a UN meeting. It's a pretty serious thing when they all get together and have their meeting. It's like they're not going to do that just so they can discuss like, here's an icy wasteland, and we're just, it's just an island out in the middle of the ocean. It's just random, crazy, fucking icy wasteland. And it's like we're going to keep people out of here so we can study the ice. We're going to drill for ice samples and study it and. I don't think the whole world's gonna fucking give a fuck. No, you're not gonna get all the leaders of all the countries together to sign a treaty and all this shit just so they can make sure they can study the ice samples unfettered. It's no, there's no logic behind that idea. It's like they all got together to sign a treaty to keep people the fuck out of there because it's a desolate, frozen wasteland and it doesn't support life. And it's the limit of our known world, and there's no reason people need to go there. And it just so happens that we're like living under a paradigm now which has people believing they live on a ball. And so if people really did enough exploring in that direction, they'd probably start to put it together that this isn't this isn't what we thought it was. I mean, yeah, I guess all it would take is for somebody to go circumnavigate Antarctica. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for all we know, there could be an icy wasteland out, island, continent out. I mean, this still doesn't mean the Earth is a globe. And for there to be a South Pole, a magnetic South Pole, it's like, why is there? It's like I don't know. I still have a hard time believing in the way things have been described as of late. Like flat earthers have kind of accepted the fact that there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and it's like I don't even know about that yet. I think there might be. I don't know. It's one of those things that there's so few people that have actually witnessed it, collectively. I mean, it's such a small percentage of the population that actually gets to see that. And it's just so many weird, interesting little factoids about all that, like the fact that all the scientific establishments out in Antarctica, they've never managed to capture any video of the 24-hour sun for some reason. It's all just random YouTubers that go down there, that have money, that have there's a few videos of it, but there wasn't any videos of it when people started talking about flat Earth. There wasn't a single one, except for these deceptive videos that the scientific bases have put up down there, where it looks like a 24-hour sun video, but if you look at the time on it, it's a time lapse. You can see that there's 6 to 8 hours missing out of every day. And then you find out pretty quickly that there's not a single video of a 24-hour sun that's been posted by the scientific establishment, for what it's worth. So it just becomes pretty screwy. There's all this conflicting information. And it's just interesting that at this point in our our progress as a human population, that there's still some kind of question as to what's going on out there. I mean, but I find that to be weird, though, that if there's not like a magnetic southern pole, then how could there be like, I don't know, the way that, like I start to get off it and I start like, that's where I start, spitting conjecture and I'm saying, well, it's like, what if there's, because I think the sky functions in like, it has some kind of electromagnetic nature to it, and that's why it's functioning the way it is. It's like a toroid. The way a torus field is shaped is very reminiscent of the sky. The way the sky, the way that there's like circumpolar motion taking place, and it's like it's quite identical to the way a torus field takes shape, and so we could be living in one big torus field, or we probably are. I just find that to be interesting that there's not like a magnetic south pole that can be located. The way the compass works seems to be really revealing on this note. I mean, it's like you think you would go over the equator and then your compass would start pointing south. You know, the needle starts pointing south instead. But no, it just keeps pointing north. So, I mean, there's little things like that start to bug me, and there's never any circumnavigation going on from north to south, you know, and that's another big red flag. That's exactly what you would see on a flat Earth. You would see circumnavigation taking place east to west, strictly, and that's exactly the situation that we're in. So you start to realize after a while that, like, all the evidence that all the real life stuff that's going on here is, it pretty much is explained a lot more logically with the concept of like Earth being as it's presenting itself, which is that of a stationary flat plane, you know, in this frame of reference or whatever, for what it's worth. And like I like to say this to Globers. I've trapped certain Globers, you know, people that are flat Earth haters. I've trapped them in this situation where they realize, where I make them explain to me that they see the Earth the same way I do. They'll be fighting with me about the flat Earth, and I'll be like, hey, if I draw a circle on the ground, can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of it? No, of course, the answer. And then I'm like, well, what if I draw a massive circle on the ground? Then can you draw a smaller circle around the outside of it? No. Okay, so is the size of the circle I draw irrelevant? It's always going to be impossible to draw a smaller circle around the outside of another circle on the ground? Yeah. Okay, so the size is irrelevant, so the circles just get bigger all the way out? Yeah. Okay, well then the Earth cannot be a globe. And this gets people every time. They'll walk right into that and they'll be like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what do you think I mean? Have you thought about it? You're arguing with me about Earth and its shape, and it's like, but you clearly just now realize that the circles just get bigger all the way out, and that's exactly what would happen on a flat Earth. On a globe Earth, however, the circles would only get so big until you reach the median. That's the biggest circle you're going to draw on a globe. And then, you know, it starts to close back up. Circles start to get smaller. I've never had somebody come back at me with some kind of, you know, well, what, did you just debunk spheres? And I'm like, no, I I didn't. I'm just trying to tell you that, like, if you're going to apply the idea that the Earth's surface forms a spherical shape, then you're going to have to realize that necessitates certain things to happen in reality. Like, you would draw circles on the face of the Earth, and they would only get so big. Then they would have to start getting smaller somehow. I mean, that's when all this tricky business with being all sideways and upside down. I don't know. It's really just a big head fuck at that point, because nobody would expect that to happen. People walk right into my flat Earth trap. They're like, yeah, the circles just get bigger all the way out. I'm like, nope, not on your globe. I guess he didn't think that one through, though. People just accept what's been told to them, and just like, they don't even think about it. I realized once I thought about it, I'm like, well, that's weird. I didn't think about that. The biggest circle you can draw on Earth is only circling half the Earth. That seems funny. That seems like a joke. What's up? I'm gonna grab a cigarette. Yeah, so it's like we've been indoctrinated into thinking a certain thing. Like, if people are asked, like, what is the Earth? Well, it's a globe and it's a sphere. You know, people just, you know, immediately defer to their memory of what they were educated, on that. But like when it comes to interacting with the Earth, nobody's busy thinking about it like that. Like if I were to just get a random group of people that have never talked about flat Earth or just people that are just normal people, whatever, and it's like a reality show. Is my idea. It's like, okay, I'm gonna say I have like an infinite amount of money. I'm gonna pay people to do a task. I'm gonna hire a group of people to make concentric circles on the face of the Earth, and concentric circles is like circles around circles that you draw a circle, then you draw another circle around it, and you keep going, and the circles get bigger and bigger and bigger. Do it on the face of the Earth. I want people to make concentric circles. I want to say I'm an eccentric weirdo. I want to see. I want to pay people per circle. So it's like this group of people are, they start making circles, and the circles getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're making more and more. The pay increases exponentially. So you make a bigger circle, you get a ton more money. So it's like the circles keep getting bigger, and people keep getting more and more money. And it's like, wow, this is awesome. We're getting rich. So just keep making these circles, and the circles start getting really fucking big, But it's a pretty simple task. You just go walk around in a circle, make a new circle around the outside of the other one that you made before, concentric circles. They just get bigger and bigger and wider. And just go about it, there's no, just keep doing it. You could go your whole life making bigger and bigger circles and making more and more money and just getting so rich and being so happy about your new job where you're just making concentric circles, and the circles get so big to the point where it's like you don't even feel like you're walking in a circle anymore. You're just walking in a straight line, but you always come back to where you started, and you're like, okay, there's the next circle. You measure it, and it's like this big. However many miles, however many days it took to get back to where you started. The circles get bigger, and you're always walking around the outside of the last circle. So of course you're just intuitively understanding that the circle is always going to get bigger, and you're going to get a bunch more money every time. You're getting paid exponentially more per. When the circle gets bigger, you get paid a ton more money than you did before. It's like this incentive to keep going, basically. So nobody, I could give this, I could assign this task to any group of people on Earth, any group of people. It doesn't matter who. Like, there's never going to be a point in time during this exercise where somebody's going to be like wondering why the circles keep getting bigger. They're never, they're never going to think to themselves, oh, these circles are only going to get so big and then they're going to start to shrink. That's never going to be a thought that would occur to anybody during any point in this. They would never assume that because they're going out there intuitively understanding that the circles are only going to get bigger. You're walking around the outside of your previous circle, it's going to be a bigger circle. A bigger piece of property is always going to have a bigger perimeter around it. And it just keeps getting bigger all the way out. That's the only thing we would ever see. It's the only thing anybody would ever expect to see. That's what we would see. Now, that being the case, well, it's like since we have no reason to expect anything else, anything different to happen, then we know the circles will just get bigger all the way out. They never get smaller. They'll never do anything but get bigger. It's a pretty simple formula. You're just walking around the outside of the circle you made before. It's going to be a bigger circle every fucking time. You're never going to get a different result. And so therefore the Earth is a flat plane. And it's at a certain point, the biggest circle you're making would have to be like the limit, Beyond that is like a desolate, icy wasteland or whatever, where the sun doesn't go. The one place on Earth where people just avoid because it's just too extreme, it's too dangerous. It doesn't support life. It's icy wasteland. All the world leaders have gotten together and made this agreement to keep people out of there because it's dangerous and people die, and there's no country there because it doesn't support life. It's not realistic. There's like scientific bases there, but that's about it. Nobody goes there to like live. And you can go draw a perimeter around any place on Earth. You could draw a perimeter on the state you live in. You could draw a perimeter on the country you live in. You could draw a perimeter around any big spot on Earth. You can draw a perimeter around this part of the world and this part. You can draw a perimeter around any location on Earth. Do you think you can draw a perimeter around the entire known world? Like, you can draw a perimeter around, America, Canada, and fucking the ocean, and Just make a perimeter around. Do you think you can draw a perimeter around the entire known world? All the places? Because each place has its own perimeter. So if you just took and add all those places together, you're going to get one big perimeter around all of it, right? Right. Because the earth is flat. I mean, how would that work, anyways? It's like, so the perimeter starts to get smaller. Like on a globe, the circles get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you hit the median. That's the biggest circle you're going to get. And now the circles start getting smaller. Like if you were standing right here and you had a perimeter a circle around you on the ground, and it starts to widen, just an imaginary circle, it's getting wider and wider in every direction, expanding evenly with you right in the middle. If that circle were to just expand evenly in every direction indefinitely, and you just stayed right where you were when it started, right in the middle, that circle would grow and grow and grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you'd just stay right there. Do you think you'd always be in the middle of that circle? Well, yeah, that makes sense. Well, on a globe, that circle would only get so wide. It would hit the median, and then it would start to shrink. And at the point when that circle starts to close back up, because it's shrinking around a different center point now, it's closing back up on the other complete opposite end of the Earth. Once it passes the median, that circle that was widening, that you were in the middle of, once it passes the median, now it's going to have to start to shrink, and it's no longer circling you anymore. It's closing in around a different center spot. It left you behind at the median. That's why I've made this riddle that I like to ask people. I'm like, if you were awarded the the 90th latitude north, like you win the North Pole, you own that circle, right? The Arctic Circle is yours now, and it's like a lottery. And and if you want, you can step outside of your Arctic Circle and make a new circle around the outside of that. And now that's your new property line. And so you could just keep doing this and do it again. Step outside of the circle you just made and make a new circle around all of that. And now that's your new property line. So your property is expanding evenly in every direction. Now, if you're allowed to just keep doing this indefinitely, mind you, you only own what's inside the last circle you draw. So do you think if you were to just keep doing this indefinitely that you would eventually own the whole world? Most people answer yes, because it seems to make sense. It's like, yeah, the circles, you're just going to keep getting more and more property within your circle. You just keep making a bigger circle as you go. Yeah, eventually you own the whole world. Well, no. Because if you live on a globe, if you think you live on a globe, then the answer is no. Because that circle can only get so wide. It'll get as wide as the median. If you start at the North Pole, the equator will be the biggest circle that you can make on that during this exercise. And you'll own half the world at that point. But then once you move south of the equator and make your next circle, it's going to be smaller than the circle you made before. So you only own whatever's inside the last circle you draw. So if now your circles are getting smaller, now your property is shrinking because you only own what's inside the last circle you drew. So the point where your circles are getting smaller, your property is getting smaller. So the most you'll ever own in this thought experiment, if you live on a globe, is half the world. If you live on a flat earth, yes, eventually you would own the whole world. Most people answer yes, which is funny because they don't think about it like that. Most people don't even understand what the fuck I'm talking about because they don't bother listening. But it's a riddle that I think it makes a good point because it's like, it doesn't make sense because like really what would happen, I mean, it's like if your property is expanding all the way and then you get down to the equator and that's your property line now, you own the whole northern region, and then you move south from there and you make a smaller circle somehow because you're circling the area now that you haven't acquired yet. It's like negative space or however you want to look at it. It's like your property would still increase because you still have all that other property you owned, but now you moved south and you made a smaller circle. Well, because now your circle's going around the property you haven't acquired yet. Before that, your circle was circling the property you've been acquiring. Once you move south of the equator, now you're circling property that you haven't acquired yet. So you're still gaining more property, but the perimeter around the outside of it is shrinking. It's just too funny. I just don't think that's what would happen in real life. But if you lived on a globe, that's what would have to happen. I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense because how are you going to put a smaller perimeter how are you going to put a smaller perimeter around more property? It doesn't make any sense. And I think the reason it doesn't make any sense is because of the way it's been explained. Like, we're on top of the ball no matter where we are. So because of that strange logistic, I mean, it's like we're never going to feel like we're on the side of the ball, or it's like we're always going to be on the. I mean, it just makes for a pretty interesting. Like, at a certain point, you realize, okay, if I have to believe in this globe Earth, then I have to depart from what we all expect to be reality in order to do that, because nobody on Earth would ever expect anything different to happen. They would just think the circles would get bigger all the way out. You would eventually own the whole world. I believe that to be, that's what I think, but I'm a flat earther, but most people aren't. They just don't realize they're a flat earther, I guess is what it is. I mean, I'll take these riddles and I'll run them by people that are flat earth haters, globers, or whatever you want to call them. There's other people, you know, I don't have any problems with anybody. I'm not mad about it. But like, they'll be all flustered and they'll be like, wait a minute, what do you mean? What do you mean, welcome to flat earth? I'm like, well, no, you just admitted to me that you see the earth the same way I do. The circles get bigger all the way out. And it takes them a minute before they even realize what I'm saying, and they're like, start backpedaling. Oh, well, no, like, no, too late now. You already walked right into my little trap, and you made me aware of the fact that you think of the earth the same way I do. It's logical, it's intuitive. You don't have to question anything. You just have to go back. It doesn't involve, you don't need to prove your objective reality. Now, if you want to tell me you have a model of the entire place, well, that's something you need to prove. I mean, that's what's up for debate. I'm not presenting you with any model or anything that's up for debate. I'm just presenting you with my thoughts on objective reality. I guess everything can be up for debate if you want it to be, but I'm not claiming to know what the whole Earth is, or if it has a shape. I mean, if I was going to make it that claim, I would say, well, there has to be something to do with a circle, because we're in a circuit, we're in a cycle. Cycles and circuits are circular. And you know, so there, I would think that maybe the realm, it has a circular shape to it, but that doesn't mean it's a ball. I mean, I'm basically 100% positive it's not a ball, at least the part that we walk on. I'm willing to be 100% surprised if I'm wrong, but I have no reason to believe that I'm wrong. I'm never going to come into any situation here while living here where I have to suddenly adjust because of the fact that it turns out I live on a globe, and I wasn't applying that knowledge to my reality. Nobody has to apply that knowledge to the reality. You never have to worry about the curvature or the motion. It's not something that anybody's ever going to have to worry about ever once at all. It's not, you don't have to, it's a moot point is what I'm saying. It's just like fancy pants science talk. It's to no avail. You know, of course, the astronauts and, you know, that shit's all theater, man. It's all theater. And once you realize that, it becomes a big joke. It's like basically the moon landing and the ISS. I mean, it's like mankind's most embarrassing achievements, really. It's pretty pathetic. But I mean, basically, I'm in a situation, after looking at it with a critical eye, I'm like, well, I'd sure hate to have to defend all that shit. I'd much rather be on the other side of the coin where I'm like, that shit looks bad, dude. It doesn't look like what they're saying it is. I mean, it's obviously a big lie. Whatever, there's something up there flying around, okay, but like, the videos they're showing me from the ISS are obviously a fucking joke. It's fake. It's not, it's totally fake, dude. You know, some of it looks kind of real, but like, yeah, I mean, but mind you, you're watching it on TV, you know. I've seen a lot of movies, and I mean, you have to just take that into account. Like, if your worldview is being dictated to you via like government-approved narratives, I mean, you know, the word government means mind control, right? You have to factor that in. If you're doing science and you're relying on, like, you know, astronauts, which are military, they're all sworn to secrecy. Like, if you're relying on part of your science equation is part of the information from your science is coming from an entity known as mind control, where there's people that are sworn to secrecy that are providing you with information about whatever, and you're going to factor that into your scientific equation or whatever. It's like a real scientist is going to take that and be like, well, that just kind of fucks everything up. because now there's all these questions that I have about this sworn to secrecy business and this mind control entity that wants to insert some information into my science here. Like, it's not like anybody can go verify any of the shit they say about space. I mean, we just have to, oh, well, the so-and-so probe, measured we know what Jupiter is made of and all this shit. Do we? I'd have to say we don't. We do have people that tell us that they know, but they haven't been there, so how would they really know? They claim they sent some little craft there or whatever and took pictures and did analysis, and no, they didn't. They did no such thing. And that's where it gets kind of tricky for some people, because they're like, well, that's a pretty bold conspiracy to be pulling off. Well, yeah, but there's all kinds of shit like that going on in the world. The world stage is nothing but just a bunch of fucking theater, man. And by all means is the space presentation part of that. Absolutely. Like, you can tell when you're being provided with a system, like a staged performance provided to you by the system, the TV, the screen. I mean, it's like, it always has this really cheeseball narrative that goes along with it that's just like this hunky-dory, like, fucking, we're exploring, and it's all this shallow, like, fucking, they don't ever provide you with enough substance. It's always like, if I watch, like, interviews with astronauts and, like, listen to them talk, after I became critical about all that, like, I realized they don't ever say anything that's, like, substantive. Like, it's always just this fluffy, empty bullshit. They never say anything that really inspires me or that makes me think that they're actually doing anything. I don't know, it just seems so fake to me after I've thrown a critical eye on it. I mean, like, I'm trying not to become totally, like, jaded by it. I mean, I just think it's funny. I realize that my bias now is basically to not believe anything the government says, and that's dangerous. I don't want to get too lost in that tangent either, because, I mean, a cunning, like, foe will realize that you don't trust anything they say now, and so they're gonna play on it. They're gonna play on that. They're gonna be like, well, now I'm gonna provide some truth, and you're gonna think it's not true because you don't trust me now. And they can fuck with you in that manner. It's like they being the people that are, like, fucking, responsible for, like, the mind control taking place. I mean, there's clearly mind control that we're being subjected to constantly, trauma-based mind control, and just, pressures that society's, like, just, like, basically the word government means mind control. So it's important to not forget that. There is a house in New Orleans. They call it Rising Sun. It's been a many poor boys. Lord, I know I'm one. Well, my mother was a tailor. She sewed my blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. In New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drunk. He's on a drunk. Now mothers tell your children not to do what I have done. I'm going back to New Orleans to join the rising sun. The rising sun. There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun. And it's been the ruin of many poor boys. Lord, I know I'm one. I know I'm one. I know I'm one. What's up, Lev? What's up, Skeptic? Forever Love, good to see you. Hey, guys. Kind of cold out here. Probably gonna go to bed here in a minute. It's cold and quiet. Shh, this is a quiet riot. I'm tripping out about the crown matrix. Look for crowns in the news and crowns in the themes of today's talking, today's subjects. Because here we had Trump with his fucking meme that he posted where it's like an AI generated like cartoon of Trump as king. He's like King Trump, he's wearing his crown, he's flying his Air Force jet, and he's flying over the No Kings protest, and he's dropping shit all over everybody. This is what the President of the United States posted on his social media. It's a video of him as a king with a crown flying over America, dumping shit all over all the people that are protesting him with their no kings signs and their little crown with a circle around it crossed out. No kings. It's like a cartoon or something, you know? It's like reality has become a cartoon. No kings. It's like a crown with a circle and a cross through it. No crown. And he's wearing the crown. He's like King Trump. And he's like shitting on everybody. And they're like, no kings, no crowns, no coronas, no crowns. And then you got, at the same time all that's happening, you know, it's like this distraction from the Epstein files that everybody was all up in arms about. You know, it's like, well, now they've given something to the masses. They're like, well, look, Prince fucking Andrew or whatever, this royal guy, the Duke of York, he was involved in, you know, he's been exposed as being like partaking in the sex trafficking ring, and so he's busted. You know, basically the amount of him, what that amounts to is he's lost his royal status. He's no longer the Duke of York. He's now the Uke of Dork. He's been uked. He's lost his crown. You know, they took away his royal status. Oh, poor guy. He's now one of us, basically. It's like he's being punished for being part of this sex trafficking ring that everybody's been all up in arms about. And he's being punished by being demoted to our status. So it really stuck it to him. So he's the Uke of Dork now. He's no longer the Duke of York. He's the Uke of Dork. He's been uked. He lost his crown. He's no longer prince, you know. And so while that's happening, someone pulls off the most insane heist of, like, the biggest heist of the century or more. Like, they stole the crown jewels from the fucking the Louvre Museum or whatever it's called. The L-U-V-R-E or whatever. Louvre. They stole the fucking crown jewels. They fucking stole the crown jewels. The Corona jewels. The crown has been stolen from the you know, world's most renowned museum. Crown jewels were stolen. Prince Andrew lost his crown. King Trump is pretending he's a king and he's got a crown. The no kings have the crown circled and crossed out. No kings, no crowns. I'm the king. I lost my crown. Oh, we stole the crown. There's a reoccurring crown, the corona, that's reoccurring. And it's all happening at the same time, you know. It's all tied together in a way. And it's interesting to me. I call it the crown matrix. And there's something to it, you know. It's like these people that try to manipulate all of us, you know, with their fucking media, their, you know, these trauma-based mind control programs that are unleashed on us. They have a way of, like, telling a deeper story, you know, whether it's even, there's got to, because there's like themes that they'll dwell on, you know, where it's like this obvious reoccurring theme, you know, patterns develop, and I don't think it's just coincidence, you know. I mean, I think coincidence is short for cognitive dissonance, because that's what it is. When you think something like that's a coincidence, you're basically just telling me that you're suffering from cognitive dissonance because you don't want to accept the fact that the pattern might mean something. What it means, I don't know. I mean, there's clearly an effort being made to crown the serpent, you know, the corona. It's clearly an important agenda, whatever it is. They're making drastic changes to the civilization that we live in, you know, worldwide. I mean, there's clearly a worldwide order, you know, where there's like what would otherwise be the world government. I mean, we've seen it in action, you know. It was all kicked off with the crown, you know, the corona. So I ask of you, if you're listening to me, seek out these patterns and bring them to me. Because I want to see more crown pattern. There's got to be more crown stuff coming up. Like, just look for the crown. And let me know, because I want to hear about it.